Okay, this next problem we're doing together, make sure you have your paper, your pencil, and that you are solving this with me, because at the end you're going to take a picture of your work and submit it for a grade. This next question asks us, what is the total area of the figure below? So again, this is going to be an area problem. We are looking at the number of square units inside of an object. So I look at my steps to solve. Step 1 tells me to draw a visual. I have my picture drawn already for me, so go ahead and pause this video. Take a second to draw the figure that you see on your screen. Okay, so we've got another irregular shape. So before I can find the area of this figure, I need to decompose the shape or break it into smaller pieces. So when we're doing this, we want to make sure that the pieces we're decomposing the shape we're breaking it into squares or rectangles. So there are a few different ways that we could do this. I'm going to divide mine like this. I see a rectangle here. I've got a square here. And I've got another rectangle here. So go ahead and decompose your shape to match mine. Okay, my next step is going to be to label all of my dimensions. So when I'm looking at this shape, I notice some dimensions are labeled, but not all of them. I'm going to start with my green rectangle. So I already see a 4 labeled here. Something that we need to remember with rectangles and squares is that opposite sides are congruent. So this really helps us when we are labeling our dimensions. So since I know that this side length is 4, I also know that this side length is 4. And since I see this side length is 2, I also know that this side length is 2. So now moving on to our red square, I see my 2 side lengths here labeled 3, so I know that this side length and this side length are also 3. Okay, now moving into the larger rectangle, I see this side length is 9, so I know the opposite side length is also going to be 9. Okay, now looking on the side here, this 6 centimeters, that was from when we had this whole side length. So now I only have part of this side length. So this is not 6. I have to now solve for this missing side length. Okay, so if I knew that this whole side length was 6, I know that this part is 3. I can solve for my missing side length here. Okay, I've got 2 parts and a whole. So I can take 6 minus 3 and get my missing side length also 3. Okay, this makes sense because 3 plus 3 is 6. Now that I know this side length is 3, I know the opposite side length is also going to be 3. So real quick, I'm going to cross out 6 and 5 because they are not important anymore. Now that I've got my 3 shapes, all of my dimensions are labeled, I'm ready to solve for area. So again, I've decomposed this one shape into 3 smaller shapes. So I'm going to be finding the area for all three shapes before adding them together to find my total area. So remember, our formula for area is length times width. So I'm going to write out my formula for all three of my shapes. Now we can go ahead and solve area for each. So starting with my green rectangle, area equals length times width. My length is 2. My width is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Moving on to my red square. My length is 3. My width is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Moving on to my blue rectangle. My length is 3. My width is 9. 3 times 9 is 27. Okay, we're not done yet. Almost there though. So I've got the area solved for all three shapes. Last thing I need to do is just add them together. So I know that 8 plus 9 equals 17. Now I'm adding 17 plus 27. 7 plus 7 is 14. 2 plus 1 plus 1, 4. So my total area equals 44 centimeters. I go back up to my answer choices. We've got answer choice C. Okay, so we are finished with our first example problem. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our second example problem. Exact same as the shape from the first problem did for area. So when we're solving for area with irregular shapes, we do decompose it into rectangles and squares. For our second problem, we are asked what is the perimeter of the figure below. This shape is so go ahead and pause the video and redraw this shape for the second time. We are not going to be decomposing it, so you need to redraw it just like it is here. So pause your video and draw. Okay, so again, this question asks us what is the perimeter of the figure below. So this time we are going to find the perimeter of an irregular shape. So we've already drawn our visual. Now we're ready to move on to labeling our dimensions. So when I'm looking at this shape, I do see a lot of dimensions labeled, but not all of them. So we're going to go through and I'm going to show you how to see where our missing side lengths are. So this first one, 4, 5, 9, 6, 3, 3. Here I've got our missing side length, and then 2. So next let's solve for that missing side length. Okay, so my missing piece is right here. I know that from here to here is 9 centimeters. I also know from this 4 centimeters right here that from here to here is 4 centimeters. I also know that this length here is 3. So again, from here to about here is 3 centimeters. So then my missing length here is going to be the same length as this one. So if I know that this whole side is 9, I have parts of it, 4 and 3. I can subtract those numbers to find my missing part. So 9 minus 4 is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. So this is going to be our missing number. And that makes sense because 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. So we can go ahead and label that missing side length is 2. These two sides are congruent. That's how I know that this is also 2. I'm gonna go ahead and erase this so it doesn't confuse us. Our next step is to write the formula and plug in numbers. So this perimeter formula, length plus width plus length plus width, this formula is for just a regular 4-sided square or rectangle. So length, length, width, width. Well, since we have an irregular shape, we have a lot more than 4 sides. Okay, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides. So instead of length plus width plus length plus width and just adding 4 numbers, we're going to be adding 8 numbers. So perimeter is the distance around our shape. So it doesn't matter that we have more than 4 to plug in our formula. We're just going to plug in all the side lengths. Okay, so perimeter equals 5 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 6 plus 9. So double check that you have 8 side lengths in your equation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. So I'm going to add with carets. So 5 plus 4, 9. 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 9 is 15. 9 plus 4 is 13. 6 plus 15 is 21. And 13 plus 21 is 34. So our total perimeter is 34 centimeters. Our correct answer choice is C. Okay, so one really important thing for us to remember is when we solve for perimeter of an irregular shape, we did not decompose and we did not break down our shape into smaller shapes the way that we did with area. So you only decompose your irregular shape when we're working with area. Okay, when we are asked for perimeter, you just label your dimensions and add the way that we did. Awesome work, guys. Go ahead and take a picture of your work, submit it to Canvas, and then you're ready for your exit ticket.